So back in the beginning of 2020, and I'm talking pre-pandemic, so a long time ago now, I made a video with some tips on shooting fashion campaigns and fashion lookbooks. Since then, I have been lucky enough that my career has continued to advance, and I've shot a lot more fashion content, many more fashion campaigns and lookbooks in that time. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing an update video, and we're going to be talking about a few tips on creatively directing, producing and photographing a fashion lookbook. And we're going to be using a real life case study, a lookbook for World Soccer Shop that I recently shot. So whether you are a photographer, you are a creative director or a brand owner yourself, I hope that you find some useful tips within this. Without saying much more, let's get stuck in. So firstly, you're going to want to get to grips with your brief. This is arguably the most important thing that you'll do throughout the shoot, and it should be the first thing that you do. So understanding the brief, what the client wants you to capture, for which platforms, which audience, and the general ethos and ethics of a brand is so instrumental in the decisions that are yet to come. You know, for example, finding your locations, styling the items, finding models, all of that is really dictated by understanding your brief. So within this shoot, I needed to not only understand the client, who are essentially an online retailer that focuses on football or soccer, depending on where you're coming from, content, collateral, apparel. I also needed to understand that the shoot was looking to provide a crossover between the UK grime scene and the English Premier League. It needed to be undeniably British, as well as having a nod to grime, a nod to UK music, and a nod to the English Premier League. So this helped me not only choose the locations, but also to choose the models. I opted to work with 4 models, all of whom are upcoming within UK grime, but also who are interested in football as well. On the other hand, if you are a brand owner, you want to look at a brief from the perspective of, you know, if you create a solid brief for your creatives to follow, then it really helps them understand the ethos of the brand and what you need from them, then the shoot is going to be a lot closer to your vision and what you want from it. Next up, I always recommend to design a shot list. So designing a shot list will not only help you get all of the content that you need to get, but it will also make you feel a lot more organized and a lot more on top of things when it comes to the shoot. You can run the shot list past the client, see if they want to add anything. Some clients will give you a shot list from the bat, and then, you know, that's a lot easier to deal with that. You just follow the shot list they've given you. But if you are making one yourself, then yeah, of course, run it past your client, see if it's okay, if they want to add anything to it. I usually have my shot list as like a tickable list on my phone or my notes app, but you could write one out and cross it out, print one out, you know, however is best for you and your personal workflow. For me, I just like having it on my phone, it's easy. If you're a brand owner, this one's for you. When you're creating your shot list, when you're giving them a shot list, trust your creatives, you know, ask them what is feasible within this time scale. That is a lot better than giving them too much and overwhelming them because it's just not possible with the time that they've been given. So before we start talking about the actual shoot itself, you know, getting into the photo shoot, I just want to say a quick thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Awesome. So when it comes to working in the creative industry, whether you are a creative director, a photographer, or maybe you do own a clothing brand, it's really easy to be consumed by all of like the creative, logistical aspects of running your business. And it's very easy to forget about the admin, forget about the accounting and finance side of things. So Awesome helps to take away the pressure of worrying about finance and accounting and that side of your business. Not only can they help you to register your business, but they also help you to keep your books in check so that you don't have to worry about things like receipts, finance statements, and taxes. Awesome can provide you with a dedicated accountant as well as their software, which makes it really easy for you to keep track of invoices, receipts, what you're earning, what you're spending, and how much tax you're paying at the end of the year. So if you're interested in Awesome services, there is a great offer in today's video. Just use the link in the description to register your company and get a business bank account for just £12. Awesome will handle your entire company registration process and set up your business bank account so that you can start trading straight away. So it's time to talk about the actual shoot. Here are my top tips when it comes to actually shooting a lookbook. If you're shooting both photo and video and you have 2 people to do those jobs, for example, you on photo and another person on video, which I do hope is the case, then consider splitting off 1 by 1 to do the job. You both take one model and maximize the time. So an example of this within this shoot was where we had myself on stills and Fuad on short form video, so things like TikTok, Reels, etc. We had instances where there were 2 models on set. So for example, Tia and Ransom were on set at the same time. And we split our time within that location, taking one model at a time and then switching over. This might sound like common sense, but a lot of the time it's these kind of logistics of a shoot where I see people getting stuck. Next up, match the clothing to the locations. So by that, I mean at least know what you're going to be shooting in each location. The likelihood is that you won't need to shoot every item of clothing in each location. So think about which locations will work best with what clothes you have, and have that written into your schedule. Similarly to both of the previous points, having an idea of which clothes you'll be shooting in which locations will help you to maintain a consistency throughout the content. And by that I mean, you might have the short form video content shot in the same place as the stills content, and then there's that consistency between the model, the shirt, and the location. The model, the clothing, the location. For example, we shot Tia's stills in this location as well as the video, even though we shot them at slightly different times. If you're shooting both film and digital on shoot and you need both, I usually recommend to start off with digital. So whilst this is definitely up to personal preference, I tend to find that it's easier to warm up with digital for both you and for the models, and to really get into the flow of the shoot. There's less to worry about when it comes to digital about getting things perfect the first time, so you can kind of get into the shoot by shooting digital and then move on to shooting film once you've got that sorted. Make sure you are covering all angles. So it's important that when you are shooting clothing, you're capturing the full picture as well as the details. There may be certain poses or instances where the clothing isn't shown off to its full potential, but you're still shooting the scene because it looks good or it adds to the narrative of the lookbook. In these instances, you want to make sure that you still have a few photos where you're showing off the clothing properly, including the front, the back, details of the product, as well as images where it gives a better idea of the full product, which tend to be, wider shots that give off that full view of the products. When working with multiple items of clothing, feel free to shoot them in mixed scenarios, for example, a bag and a top, but make sure you also get photos of the bag on its own and the top of its own. And similarly, if you're shooting in groups, you might shoot one shirt with one model and another shirt with a different model in the same photo. That's fine, but make sure you also get them on their own. That's because the brand might not have all the pieces available on sale or part of the same promotion at all times. So by having the photographs of items together, it makes it more difficult for the brand to use that content all the time, and it really minimizes its longevity. If you're working on location, consider hiring an extra pair of hands, and this could be an assistant or having the brand owner on shoot with you, or anyone who's not actually directly involved in taking and making the images, like the model, the photographer, videographer. This is because you're likely to have a large amount of equipment and clothing items, etc. And if you're shooting on location, moving about often, then it can be useful to have an extra pair of hands to help you carry all that, make sure things don't get creased, make sure things don't get stolen, and all of that stuff. Working on a fashion campaign can be a lot of fun, and the tempo, the vibe, the overall experience is dictated by the people running it, and having this really high level of preparation is only going to minimize the stress on the day. Generally, it's going to run smoother and it's going to be a more enjoyable experience. Hopefully you can use some of these shoots to better consider the plan of your shoot. If you're interested in an even more in-depth understanding of planning and executing a fashion lookbook, then I've got a full course that's just been released over on Skillshare that breaks down this shoot in even more detail, giving you an even fuller guide to planning and executing your fashion lookbook. You can access that course alongside all of my other courses and courses from hundreds of other creators with the free trial link in the description of the video. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.